Okay, let's unpack this. The pace of AI development. I mean, it feels like it's accelerating almost daily, doesn't it?
It really does. Hard to keep up sometimes.
And we're seeing it move beyond just, assisting us. It's actively participating in fields we once thought were, well, uniquely human.
Like scientific discovery, that's a big one.
Exactly, which brings us to this idea. What happens when AI isn't just a tool for scientists, maybe crunching numbers or running simulations, but it actually becomes the scientist?
Uh-huh. Like generating the ideas, doing the experiments, writing it all up.
Precisely. And there's a fascinating example of this very trend called the AI Scientist V2.
Right.
This isn't some far-off concept. It's a real AI framework, and it's designed to autonomously conduct scientific research.
So it comes up with the questions, designs experiments, runs them, analyzes data, the whole 9 yards.
And even writes the manuscript.
Wow. That really shifts things, doesn't it? Moving beyond automating tasks to potentially autonomous research.
It does, and here's where it gets really, really interesting. A manuscript entirely generated by this AI scientist V2, it actually went through peer review
Okay.
at a major machine learning conference, ICLR 2025, and it was deemed workshop acceptance worthy.
Workshop acceptance worthy. Okay, so not the main conference track, but still peer review.
Exactly, and apparently that's a first. An entirely AI-generated paper passing that kind of hurdle.
That is a milestone.
Yeah.
So beyond being a first, what does this achievement really mean for how we think about scientific discovery going forward?
That's the core question, isn't it? Could we see AI driving research agendas in, say, medicine or material science?
It makes you wonder.
So for this deep dive, which we've tailored just for you based on the paper you shared, we're going to get into this.
Right.
We'll explore how AI Scientist V2 actually works,
Under the hood, yeah.
what it discovered specifically, how human experts evaluated its work, the good and the bad,
Right, the critique is important too.
and, of course, the bigger implications. What could this mean for the future of research?
So our goal here is to really understand the advancements that made this possible, but also critically look at its successes and maybe more importantly, the challenges it still faces.
Definitely. Okay, so let's get into the mechanics. How does this AI Scientist V2 actually work? You mentioned it's V2, so there was a V1.
That's right. AI Scientist V1 was a significant first step, but it had limitations.
Like what?
Primarily, it was pretty focused,
Oh.
topic specific, and it followed a more, let's say, linear path for experiments.
Okay.
Plus, it needed humans to give it baseline code templates to start from. So not fully autonomous in that sense.
Right, needed some scaffolding from humans. So how is V2 different? What are the big leaps?
Okay, V2 is quite a step up. First, it's designed to be more domain general, so potentially applicable to a wider range of scientific areas, not just one niche.
More flexible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And second, instead of that linear approach, it uses something called a tree-based exploration strategy.
Tree-based, like a decision tree.
Branching out. Kind of, yeah. Think of it like the AI exploring multiple potential research ideas and experimental designs at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Each branch in this tree is a different hypothesis or a variation on an experiment. It lets it search much more broadly and efficiently.
Parallel processing for ideas, almost. That sounds way more powerful than just going down one road.
It is another key thing. V2 can generate its own code using this tree search.
Ah, so it doesn't need those human-provided templates anymore.
Correct. That's a big boost for autonomy. And it also integrates a vision language model, a VLM.
A VLM? For what?
For feedback. It looks at the figures the AI generates in the paper, and it also helps review the manuscript draft.
So it's checking its own charts and graphs for clarity and consistency.
Exactly. Checking if they're clear, labeled right, if they match the captions, improving the overall quality of the output.
Automated proofreading for visuals, that's pretty sophisticated.
Yeah.
You also mentioned parallel execution.
Yes, that's another speed advantage. It can run multiple experiments concurrently, which obviously speeds up the whole research cycle quite dramatically.
Okay, this agentic tree search you mentioned, that seems really central. Can we dig into that a bit more? How does it manage all these branches?
Sure. There's a component called the Experiment Progress Manager. Think of it as the coordinator.
Okay.
It guides the research through 4 main phases. First, preliminary investigation, just exploring. Then, hyperparameter tuning, optimizing settings.
Right.
Third is research agenda execution, running the core experiments. And finally, ablation studies, figuring out which parts of its own system are important.
4 phases, like a mini project plan for each research question. And the tree structure fits into this.
Precisely. Each node in that tree represents a specific experiment or a step, and there are different types of nodes.
Oh,
Yeah, like buggy nodes for experiments that failed or had errors.
yeah.
The AI then tries to debug those.
It learns from mistakes.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Then you have non-buggy nodes for successful runs that can be built upon. Hyperparameter nodes for the tuning phase.
Got it.
Ablation nodes for those studies I mentioned,
Yeah.
figuring out what's essential. Replication nodes to run things multiple times for
The
reliability.
statistical significance, right?
And finally, aggregation nodes to pull together the results from all those replications.
Wow, that's surprisingly rigorous. It's not just throwing things at the wall.
No, it's quite structured.
Yeah.
And to make things smoother, it can pull data sets directly from Hugging Face Hub.
Oh, the big AI model and dataset repository.
Number one, streamlines getting the data it needs.
Makes sense. Avoids reinventing the wheel for data access. Now that VLM feedback loop you mentioned, how does that work in practice for the figures in the manuscript?
It's like an automated peer reviewer almost. For figures, it checks, is this plot clear? Are the axes labeled? Does the caption accurately describe what's shown? For the whole manuscript, it looks at visual coherence. Do the figures and text actually tell a consistent story? If the VLM spots problems.
Like a confusing graph or a mismatch.
Yeah, then the system can actually try to revise the figure or the text to fix it.
It's like having a tiny built-in editor focusing on the visuals and their connection to the text. That's impressive.
It is. It adds another layer of refinement.
Okay, so with all this complex machinery running, the AI scientist V2 actually did some research. The paper that got accepted, what was it about?
Right, the paper itself. It was titled Compositional Regularization, Unexpected Obstacles in Enhancing Neural Network Generalization.
Compositional regularization. Okay, that sounds technical. Break that down for us. What was the basic question?
Essentially, the AI was trying to figure out if adding a special penalty, this compositional regularization, during neural network training would help the network get better at generalizing to new combinations of things it already knew.
Okay, like if it learns red circles and blue squares, can it then understand a blue circle without being explicitly shown one?
That's the essence of compositional generalization, yeah. The AI thought that penalizing big changes in the model's internal states, step by step in sequence models, might encourage that kind of compositional understanding.
So it had a hypothesis. How did it test it? What experiments did it run?
It trained sequence models on synthetic data sets, basically made up arithmetic expressions of varying complexity.
Like math problems.
Kind of, yeah. And it compared models trained with this special regularization term versus models trained without it. See if it made a difference.
And did it? What did the AI find?
Well, here's the twist. The regularization didn't really help much.
Oh.
Yeah, it didn't significantly improve the model's ability to handle new, more complex expressions. Sometimes it actually seemed to hurt performance a bit.
So the hypothesis didn't pan out.
Not really. And it also found that as the expressions got more complex, the model struggled to generalize anyway, whether they had the regularization or not.
Huh. So a negative result, essentially. Which is still a result, I guess.
Exactly. And that's actually why the workshop reviewers accepted the paper.
Because it failed. That seems counterintuitive.
Not quite because it failed, but because it clearly identified challenges and reported negative results honestly. In science, knowing what doesn't work is really valuable.
Right. It saves other people from going down the same dead end.
Precisely. They appreciated the clear reporting of an unexpected obstacle.
Okay, that makes sense. But the paper wasn't perfect, surely. Did the reviewers have criticisms?
Oh, definitely. They pointed out that the paper didn't provide a strong enough justification or intuition for why that particular regularization method should have worked in the first place.
Ah, the theoretical underpinning was a bit weak.
Yeah, they wanted a clear explanation of the expected mechanism, even if it didn't work out in practice.
Understandable. What about the team behind AI Scientist V2? Did they do their own internal critique of the AI's paper?
They did, and they were quite thorough. They noted the method description could have been clearer, like exactly which part of the network was being regularized wasn't spelled out perfectly.
It's okay.
And a potentially bigger issue. Dataset overlap.
Well, what does that mean?
It looks like there might have been a fair bit of overlap, maybe around 57%, between the data used to train the models and the data used to test them.
Oh, wait. If it's tested on stuff it's already seen during training, that's not really testing generalization, is it?
Exactly. That's a major concern because it could inflate how well the model appears to generalize.
Yikes. Okay, what else did they find internally?
Some inaccuracies in figure captions and how they were interpreted in the text.
Hmm.
Also, they felt the experiments were a bit limited, only short sequences, synthetic data, not really tackling messy, real-world complexity.
So quite a few significant caveats, even from the creators. Despite getting accepted, what were the actual review scores again?
They got a 6-week accept, a 7 accept, and another 6-week accept.
Okay, so mixed, but generally positive enough for the workshop.
Right. It placed it in the top 45% of submissions for that workshop.
Which, for a paper written entirely by AI, that's still pretty remarkable, isn't it? Passing human peer review at all.
It absolutely is a significant milestone, no question. It shows how far these automated systems have come.
But, and this seems like a big but, we're not at the point where AI is churning out Nobel Prize-winning papers just yet.
No, definitely not. The system and its creators are clear about this. Doesn't consistently hit the bar for top-tier journals or conferences.
Where does it still struggle?
Mostly in the really creative parts of science. Formulating truly novel, groundbreaking hypotheses. Designing really clever, insightful experiments. That still seems to require human ingenuity and intuition.
The spark of genius is still human for now.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And the paper does mention other related work, right? This isn't happening in a vacuum.
True. They mentioned others like AI researcher, ontology, Carl, a few different systems and benchmarks working on similar ideas.
Yes, it's a growing field, lots of different approaches trying to automate different parts or all of the scientific process.
So AI Scientist V2 gets the spotlight for this peer review success, but it's part of a larger movement. It's also crucial to remember the human role here, isn't it?
Absolutely critical. While the AI supposedly ran the whole research process autonomously within a given run.
Meaning once it was given a goal.
Right, from hypothesis refinement to writing the draft. But humans started the process. They set the overall theme, the workshop topic, and they selected which initial ideas generated by the AI were worth pursuing and dedicating computational resources to.
So humans are still acting as curators or maybe strategic directors at the highest level.
You could put it that way. It's not like the AI just woke up one day and decided to study compositional regularization. Humans guided the overall direction.
Okay, that framing is important. So what's the outlook from the creators? Where do they see this going?
They're optimistic, but realistic. They see this as sort of the dawn of a new era in science.
A bold claim.
It is, but they anticipate future AI scientists will get better and better, potentially reaching human-level quality, maybe even exceeding it in scientific publishing down the line.
Yeah.
Even at top venues.
Wow. That's a future to think about. Okay, let's try to wrap this up. If you had to boil it down, what are the main things we, and you the listener, should take away from this deep dive on AI Scientist V2?
I think the biggest thing is that AI is making tangible progress in autonomously conducting research. Getting a paper through peer review, even at workshop level, is proof of concept.
It shows it's possible.
Yes. But second takeaway, there are still major hurdles. Quality isn't consistently high yet, especially compared to top human research. And the really creative fundamental breakthroughs, that seems harder to automate.
And the specific finding of the paper itself, the negative result about compositional regularization, that's also a key point, right?
Definitely. It highlights that even AI-driven science involves unexpected results, and that reporting failures, honestly, is still vital scientific practice.
So turning to you, the listener, this really prompts some thinking, doesn't it? What about your field or areas you're interested in? What parts of research there could potentially be automated?
And what are the upsides? Faster discovery, tackling problems too complex for humans alone.
But also, what are the risks? Over-reliance, bias amplification, the ethical considerations around AI authorship.
Yeah, transparency is huge. The creators emphasize labeling AI work clearly and the need for community discussion before fully integrating these things. They actually withdrew the accepted paper post-review, pending broader consensus.
That's responsible. So, lots to think about. If you want to dig deeper, we definitely encourage you to look up the paper, the AI Scientist-V2, Workshop-level automated scientific discovery via Agentic research.
And the code is open source too, if you're technically inclined. You can really see the nuts and bolts.
It really leaves us with this final thought. How is this evolving relationship between human minds and artificial intelligence going to reshape our fundamental pursuit of knowledge? Feels like we're just at the beginning of figuring that out.